And with that, we welcome you back inside the bullpen. I couldn't be happier to be inside right now than I am right now. Not only that, I'm joined by one of my favorite guys around the Mavericks, Noah Gooder Zimmer. We were trying to come up with several nicknames for you. I'm just going with Noah, but we can call you Gooder Zimmer. We might kind of mix it up here a little bit today. Great to have you up here in the booth. What do you expect here at the St. Albert Crude in town? Interesting thing you mentioned just before we jumped on the air here, and I remember this too because I was at Jerome McGinn Arena in St. Albert, my hometown, in fact. And that was the fact that the last two seasons the Mavs have not beat St. Albert in regulation. Two ties the last 2 years, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Mavericks coming off a win yesterday. The winning goal was scored by Hayden Sutherland. Nice to see him back in the lineup in his hometown here in Innisfail. He wears the number 12 for the Mavericks, who are back in their gray uniforms with yellow and black trim. The St. Albert Crude, all white with the purple trim as they get off to a quick start here. I talked to their coach before the game, Noah, and mentioned that they are a younger team, a lot of first and second year players coming into this league, so we'll have to see what kind of a young team. Another note we'd like to pass on to Alex Swan, not in the lineup today. So the two other goaltenders for the Mavericks, we'll tell you about both of them here in a moment, and we'll get right into the play here as it's picked up there by the captain inside the zone. St. Albert now will toss it around. Fans still trying to trickle in here, and it is not trickling outside. It is wet, if there's one way to describe it. Noah, maybe just tell us about the goalie. It is, yes. Excited to be up here, and then down the left-hand side, there's an exciting player. That's Luke Cuttadell. We call him the rookie, even though he's been around the program for a couple years. Of course, his dad up here on camera again for us here this afternoon at the bullpen. My dad used to say to me, it's a good day for ducks. That's how wet it is outside. Absolutely pouring on Highway 2 on the way in here as it's brought inside. That's Hacken Clayton, number 94, with the possession there. As it's back down the middle of the floor, scoreless here in the early stages of the first period in this game between the Mavericks and the St. Albert Crude. Picked up now by the Mavs inside the zone. Good spin move there to Clayton. Out front to Jace Victoria. One of the important offensive cogs to this team. I had a chance to catch up with Trey Christensen, the head coach of these Mavericks before, talking about how some of the pieces are starting to fall into place here. There's a piece from the last couple of years, and a big piece indeed, and that's Ryder Beaumont with the shot as that one just goes wide. Noah? Beaumont again cradles the ball, comes back to the center of the floor, distributes that back into the corner, and tries to get a return feed. Cut off there by Clayton. Good spin move there, but that called down by the official. And the ball will change hands here with 17:29 remaining in the first. I'll be away for the next two home games. I'm going to be out in the Okanagan area for a hockey school and a camp out there that I do annually. So you, and we'll have a few other new voices back up in the booth. So it's going to be all hands on deck as we lead up to the Larry Bishop Memorial Tournament that the Mavericks are going to be hosting this year. Here comes Remy Banfield. Inside, he'll throw that off, and that one just goes off the leg of the goaltender there, scooped up there. The goaltender in that today for the St. Albert Crude, that's number 1, Daniel Willis. As it's picked up the middle of the floor and thrown down, with several affiliate players. One of them up there is Cale Pesky. He wears the number 7. Tell you about all those players as we go throughout the broadcast. The Mavericks are going to have to kill a penalty here. It looks like they've got Willis, the goaltender, off on the bench as the Crude working around. That one goes well wide. I was standing on the bench before the game, And I took one right off the gut. Full speed. If you've never been hit with a lacrosse ball, it's not fun. And we'll get ready to start this power play. Of course, the power play is brought to you by one of our great sponsors. That's CNB Electric. I'd also like to thank Terry Flaws Real Estate, Platinum Fitness, our silver sponsor. And of course, we couldn't do this without the help of all of our great sponsors as the Crude get onto the power play here. Good spin move there. Comes back inside, looking for a clean look. That's in the feet of the goaltender. Tapping, and then it goes back out front in front of the net. Andrew Murray tries to get into that one. Good play there defensively there by Colin Farragon. Of course, that's the Ohio native and Mars Hill player that has made his way north this season to play some box lacrosse here with the Mavericks. So the American heads to the bench, and it comes up the floor. One of the veterans of the team, there's Brendan Harnick. Harnick throws it back into the corner as the Mavericks try to set up their offense here as they continue to kill this penalty. Noah, you can kind of touch on a few things for us. We'll talk about the officiating in a bit, but you've also been around this team the last couple of years on the coaching side of things too, just kind of seeing things from several different lenses for you. Tell me a little bit about what you think is different this year for this Mavericks team.
One thing I would say is there's definitely a few different youth players went up to junior A in the same Alberta minors this year, so trying to bring in new rookies and replenish the roster is always a challenge, and I think Trey has done an excellent job of that this year so far.
Yeah, one of the players still not returning yet is Jace Zielinski. He was a big piece last year for the Mavericks. I saw that Everett Muratori is back in the building. He's not in the lineup today, however, but he's a big piece for these Mavericks as well, as it's scooped off there to Liam Steele, the old native. Battles for it there. No one has more battle than Liam Steele, and he's one of those players as a veteran in the dressing room that needs to help bring these new players along a little bit. Is that not right?
For sure, Mark. Leadership is one of the most important things about a lacrosse team and the culture, and having those veteran guys help those rookies become familiar with the junior rules and the game is definitely
a little bit faster out there. That's Owen Hare with the shot. That one just goes wide as St. Albert and the Mavericks remain scoreless here. 4-2 on the shot clock in favor of the Mavs, who continue to kill this power play. Brought to you by CNB Electric. Back to 5-on-5 now as one of the sticks, I can't even say it's broken in the corner. It's completely shattered. Two pieces of the stick down there as it comes up the floor. It's Andrew Murray. Murray back inside. And there's Hayden Sutherland. Sutherland back out there, one of the offensive catalysts for this Mavericks lacrosse club. Loop back the other way, gets a feed from Boston Works. Here comes Sutherland on net, scores! I told you he was an offensive juggernaut.
exactly. Looks like they caught the Crude in a late game and took advantage of Sutherland wide open on the 3-7.
Sutherland comes in from the corner, gets high up on the goaltender, and it makes no mistake, and puts the Mavericks up 1-0 here at home. I think one of the things that Trey Christensen and his staff want to see this year is the Mavericks start to get some swagger here at the bullpen. They've had a lot of success here the last couple of years, and they want to make it a tough building for teams to come in to play in. Is that not right?
100%. Having it at home this year is good in a hard place to play in. Is definitely good for the Mavs and all the teams
Great support from the community here in Innisfail. We expect more and more fans to be here as the games become more and more important. Of course, kind of a different schedule this year. The Mavericks have not played a lot at home. 4 home games here in the month of May. Of course, this being the 31st. Next month, June 19th, we'll have the Rampage here from Red Deer, 8 o'clock start. Big game against the Shamrocks, June 20th at 7 p.m. And then a game in Cremona at the Ag Society Arena. And there's the familiar voice of Lenny Istis downstairs announcing that Hayden Sutherland goal. And we can tell you that is Jace Victoria and Hackey Clayton picking up the assist. Clayton now rolling around the floor there for a moment, but keeps onto the ball there. Throws it back out front now over to Jace Victoria. That goes wide. Sutherland back out there. He's got the ball now. Here's Sutherland again, looking for two. That one's a clean save there by Willis, and he'll hang on to that and try to work it up the middle of the floor. This young St. Albert team trying to get their offense rolling here, but they'll have to wait for a moment as that's going to be another O set here coming up for the Mavericks. Here's Hayden Sutherland. Tell me a little bit about Hayden and his game.
Hayden's just a really good offensive player. Has a decent shot behind the corner of the net at all times. He's also a good rebounder.
And one of the things I just noticed that he did there was the behind the back pass. He's one of the best at it at this level. He's a very shifty player at times, very offensively skilled. He's got the ball now back way inside Mavericks territory there as the Mavs net is empty with the delayed penalty coming up here against the St. Albert Crude. So the Mavericks getting ready to head to the CMB electric power play. That one goes to the outside. It's Ryder Beaumont who works it back to the corner there to Victoria. Victoria gets the rebound off the side of the net and corrals it back to Clayton. Clayton, hard shot. That just goes wide. Rebound almost immediately picked up there inside the zone, and now it's picked up here by the Mavs. Maybe they don't need the power play. They've got the offensive attack. They've had the ball for almost a minute. Good spin move there by Clayton. Works it back the other way to Beaumont. Back out the other side, off the top of the kneecap there of Willis, up and out of play, and here comes the penalty. With an illegal substitution. Tell me what an illegal substitution is. Talk to me like I'm a hockey player and I don't understand lacrosse.
Yeah, so a couple years ago, the RMLL changed rules, and there's another rule change this year. There's no longer too many men. It's a illegal substitution.
So the equivalent of a too many men on the ice penalty for those hockey purists out there. As it comes back to the top of the zone, it's Ryder Beaumont. Beaumont works it over to Cuttadell. Now a point shot goes just wide from Clayton. And it's missed there by the St. Albert Crude and corralled there by Hayden Sutherland. So back inside, that one goes between the feet of the goaltender. Now we're going to lean on you for some goaltending advice. How hard is it to stop the ball when it's down at your feet? Obviously different. Yeah, rather than smothering it, trapping is a good way to put it, Noah. And that one is pinned up against the wall there. As we're trying to dial things in here in the booth. High around the side of the head of Jace Victoria there. He plays through it and works the ball there to Luke Cuttadell. Brendan Harnick jumps onto the floor, so 14-15 there. Cuttadell, Harnick, and Beaumont. Beaumont over to Cuttadell. Back inside. That one just goes off the pad of the goaltender. Back out the other way. Corralled there by the Mavericks. Backdoor play. They score. And it's 2-0 Mavs. It's Jace Victoria. So Victoria in his second season with the Mavericks with the Snipes. That puts them up by 2 with 10-14 remaining here in the first period. And how about the shot? 13-4 in favor of the Mavericks. As now stepping out onto the floor to take this draw for the Mavs will be another old native. That's Blair Bossenworth. Bossenworth fights for it there. Blown down, now picked up by St. Albert. They'll get possession here as we continue on here at the midway point of the first. 2-0 Mavericks here on a wet Sunday afternoon. Comes back out to the other side, controlled there by the Crude. They get it back to the point there. It's picked up there by Fernando Runto. Runto wears the number 11. Cuttadell and Harnick pick up the assist there. You know, Lenny doesn't even hold back on second assist. He just leans into every single thing he says on the mic down there. Doing a wonderful job as always. We'll have a quick timeout here. Noah, what have you seen here in the first part of this game?
Like you mentioned, the
the shot clock is a little in favor of the Mavericks right now, 13-4, but it looks like they're just trying to find their stride in this game, testing out the goalie early, and luckily they've had 2 goals so far.
Crude had a game in Red Deer this year. They lost 12-6. Their coaching staff was telling me before the game that it was much closer than that. There was a period of the game in the middle of one of the periods where they scored 4 quick goals. So coming out and making the games closer. And I think that's kind of what we saw with the Mavericks 2 years ago, is that it took some time to kind of build this thing here in Innisfail to the point where they've gotten to now the last couple of years. Of course, last year finishing 4th in the nation. The year before that, 5th in the country at the Founders Cup in Hamilton. And of course, you and I were gaming out there in Hamilton, playing a little bit of, what was it, Madden? Or we had college football going that day? You waxed me both times. I do remember that.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. College football is a great game to play while you're hanging out with the boys.
I was hardly good competition that day, as it wasn't close. I remember that. So thanks for schooling me on that one. The Mavericks did a cool thing there. They actually traveled with multiple PlayStations, so they were around the building playing different sports, not just the college football. Everything from golf and hockey and a few other things on the PlayStation. Here comes a player looking like he's in a video game, and that's Brendan Harnick coming up the middle of the floor with a quick chance. He did that a lot last year, but he's actually having a lot more success offensively this year. He's burying those opportunities this year.
Yeah, for sure. It looks like all those practices on the breakaways have paid off for Harnack this year, which is great to see.
Seemed to be snake bitten at times. He hit the post quite a few times. He rang a few off the crossbar, but they seem to be going in with much more regularity here this season for Brendan Harnick. He is one of the big leaders in the dressing room. We mentioned this on the last few broadcasts, and of course Riley Lodemeyer, the captain of these Mavs, has aged out, as has Drake May, so kind of a bit of a younger group for the Mavericks, and some of those quieter leaders like Brendan Harnick have stepped up here so far this year. Hare now with the ball here for St. Albert, still looking for their first goal of this lacrosse game here on a Sunday afternoon, the last day in May. That one goes up atop into the stanchion there. And it's going to come back, and it's going to be possessed here by St. Albert. So how does that work there, Noel, when it hits the roof like that?
I think the refs claim that it did get a piece of the goaltender or a Mavericks player, and basically last touch after the shot gets possession or goes against the possession.
And a bit of a loaded question there for me is that you do some officiating throughout the province as well. How much do you see the game as an official when you're watching it high up here?
Definitely have caught myself a few times trying to either talk to the players or talk to the refs about certain things. It's a little annoying just seeing the game through the refs lens now, but it's helped me build a better rapport with refs and become a better official as well.
Goes backdoor there. I think one of the things for me as a former coach and now just full-time in the booth, I've actually gotten to know a lot of the referees on and off the floor, as well as on and off the ice. And I see things from their standpoint a lot more. It's not an easy job as a referee at any level, especially at this junior level, as that one gets wrapped up. And I think that's going to be a penalty here against the Mavericks. Those two officials come together there to agree on the call, and here it comes.
Looks like a holding call coming on Brendan Harnack, putting the Mavericks down 5-on-4.
Kind of got his glove tucked around the side of the helmet there. And so that is a holding penalty on Brendan Harnick. And quite often when we're doing these broadcasts, the reason I kind of bring it up is I'm always learning this game because I haven't been around it. This is only my 3rd season around this Mavericks lacrosse club, so I'm constantly kind of picking your guys' brains about things that happen in and around the floor here at the bullpen. Picked up now by St. Albert. We're back to a CMB electric power play. That goes to the left-hand side. Picked up there as they work it back in. That's Ethan Mitchell. Shoot, score! The Crude are on the board. They struck oil, I guess we could say.
You could say that. Looks like a great outside shot from Mike Atelier. Finds the 5-hole of tapping and gets the Crude on the board on the power play.
So there's the first of the day for the St. Albert Crude. And coming out to take the draw now will be another one of those affiliate players. That's Amer Joma. Declan Britton wearing the number 21 and Spencer Stuckley, the other two affiliates, wearing 21 and 15 respectively. Now picked up there on the sidewall by the Mavericks, it's Liam Steele. Steele, number 87, throws it up the left-hand side. He finds his longtime teammate, Hayden Sutherland. Sutherland's going to wait for the rest of the Mavericks to come back on the floor. Hayden was the player of the game, brought to you by Platinum Fitness yesterday as well. As that one goes back out the outside. Backdoor play over to Beaumont, scores! Ryder Beaumont has the 2-goal lead back for the Mavericks as they bury another and lead 3-1.
Yeah, it looks like another set 6-on-5 play for the Mavericks. There was going to be a holding call upcoming on the Crude, Joma for holding, but just before that, Crude bench were a little unhappy with Joma stuck on the boards, and that's one thing with the new rules this year. A lot of emphasis on on-ball and off-ball players, whereas on-ball you can pretty much get away with anything, and off-ball is very strict.
Interesting. I find when you're up here above, because I was downstairs doing the public address announcement the last few seasons, you can really hear both benches a little bit clearer as well. And I always joke about this, that I find that the coaching in lacrosse is a little more aggressive on the yelling side of things, not only at the officials, but at players for line changes and that sort of thing. So we truly hear it all up here in the booth here at the bullpen. That one goes back into the corner. Both teams battle for it as the Mavericks have their 2-goal lead back here in the first period, and they are leading 15-7 on the shot clock as well. And blown down, it's still going to be possessed here by the Crude with a fresh shot clock. Of course, the shot clock, a 30-second clock. Comes back the other way. As it goes back on the left-hand side. Good D there by Liam Steele, and that knocks the ball loose, but they can't pick up the loosey. That goes into the corner, wrapped up there for a moment. A Crude player tossed it up there, and it's picked up there by Brendan Harnick. He comes up the middle of the floor with speed, as he likes to do. Harnick back inside the zone, tries to come back in, shoots, and that one just goes off the stick. And they do a good job of controlling that one front, and Willis is going to throw it all the way down the floor.
There's a good chance by Brandon Harnack on the fast break, but it looks like he's slowed down, and then him trying to force the goalie on the outlet pass ended up being a penalty call against him for goalie interference. You can't block the goalie's outlet pass if he's anywhere in the crease, and that's another new rule in the World Lacrosse book this year.
And it is an interference call, and so we'll head back to another C&B Electric power play here for the St. Albert Crude. After the interference call, that one comes back into the corner. There is Lenny Iskus on the mic, announcing the interference penalty to Brendan Harnick. That one just goes off the pad, up over top. It's deflected, and so it still will be a St. Albert possession. Crude looking for more oil here as it comes back the other way. Here come the Mavericks with speed. Up the middle of the floor, it's Ryder Beaumont. Beaumont on net, he scores! That's his second of the day. Beaumont's got 2.
Great individual effort by Beaumont there. Started out with a great PK set by the Mavericks, and good stop by Tapping to lead to that breakaway.
A couple games ago, I was in the dressing room. I found like the room was very quiet, a lot of younger players and that sort of thing. That's kind of how Ryder Beaumont was a couple years ago. He has really grown into being a big piece on this team. In fact, he was the player after a hard loss last weekend that was the first to speak up in the room and talk about some of the things that he was seeing on the floor. And one of them was just about chasing down loose balls and not watching the plays. Everybody on the floor needs to be taking care of their own business, as it's picked up now by the Crude. And Beaumont's goal is announced here at the bullpen. Picked up there by Tapping. Over to Easton Ertmode. First time we said his name today. Another good veteran presence on this team. And nobody works harder than Easton Ertmode. As it goes back into the corner, picked up there by Jace Victoria. He's got 1 on the day. The Mavericks with 4 so far. Victoria down to the floor there. The ball is loose, but he battles for it. Almost has it for a moment. Kicked away, and then it's scooped up there by the Mavs. There's Gilbertson, another one of the new Mavericks there, Justin Gilbertson. pulled up the side of the floor there. St. Albert played Thursday night, did not play yesterday, so they should be well rested here. One of the things I noticed in these tournaments they play at the end of the season, both the Larry Bishop and the Founders, is how much lacrosse these guys play in a short period of time, Noah. Tell me about playing through injury like that and just kind of gutting it out.
Yeah, it's those tournaments are definitely hard to play in. The lack of rest between games. It's just, I find it's just a mental state that you got to push through, and just, you know that there is an end coming, and just leave it all on the line. You never know when your next game will be after that.
Yeah, that's certainly the case, and I know Trey Christensen has talked a lot about the mental aptitude of these young athletes, and a lot of them excited to be back here for another season of lacrosse here in Innisfail as it comes up the floor. It's the St. Albert Crude with possession as they come down the left-hand side. I bring that up because I've noticed in some other playoffs this year, let's talk about the Montreal Canadiens, looks like they may have just run out of gas a little bit in their series. Last night it was the San Antonio Spurs winning Game 7 of the Western Conference Final in the NBA, and I think more of a mental fatigue team, maybe the Oklahoma City Thunders taking things for granted. Of course, San Antonio having a great season there and on their young club, and sometimes having a younger club can kind of help you in that regard, and kind of giving you some of that youthful exuberance. And then, of course, today, how about Team Canada losing to Norway in what probably we thought was a nothing game, in a bronze medal game? Well, it wasn't nothing for Norway as they get their first international medal. As another goal here for the Mavericks, they get back up and push themselves through this one mentally. And I think that might be a hat trick here for Ryder Beaumont. And it is. Number 17 comes up to celebrate with his teammates, his third of the day.
Yeah, another individual effort by Beaumont. Looks like the Crude had him on an island on the right-handed side, and he just took full advantage of that, putting it short side around the goalie.
The reason I bring up all those other sports there, Noah, is because sometimes it's those mental adjustments that you need to make. Short rest, not getting the same game day meal, not the same routine every day. I certainly felt that way, especially when we were in Hamilton for the Founders Cup. It was a lot. The coaching staff doing a good job of leading the way here for the Mavericks. Hayden Sutherland now with a shot. That one goes off the side of a player as Beaumont's third goal of the day is announced down there by Lenny Ishik. 2:12 remain here in the first. Mavericks with a 5-1 lead. On net, that one handled there by Willis, and he'll scoop that back up. Up the middle of the floor to Runco. Hare out there again. He looks for a feed from Palmer. Palmer with control. Throws it back into Runco. That is picked up there by the Mavs and coming up the floor with speed. The Mavericks trying to get back to the offensive attack. You can hear Eli Johansson, one of the assistant coaches down there. Of course, Wally Gens, Jeremy Klessens, Joel Henry, and Caden Christensen on the bench as well beside head coach Trey Christensen. There's another goal for the Mavs.
Yeah. Interesting what happened last offensive set. The Mavericks actually pulled their goalie early and went on a 6-on-5. You don't see that often in Junior B. It's more of a higher level NLL kind of thing, but looks like the coaches are trying to test some things out with the against the Crude here today.
So now, is that the head coach that would pull the goalie there?
I believe I did hear Trey looking to go on a 6-on-5 set play there, and then but as soon as they looked like the Mavericks were losing possession or they got settled, they did put tapping back in the net.
So Caden working the D, Eli up on the offensive side, as well as Joel Henry, and then Wally Gens on the bench as well. But it's Trey Christensen that pulls the goalie that helps the Mavericks take a 5-goal lead here. This is more what we're used to seeing here from the Mavericks in terms of offense here. 6-1, picked up by Beaumont, looking for his fourth of the period. Picked up there now. Here come the St. Albert Crude. They need to get back to the offensive attack. Mavericks scoring 12 goals yesterday, and of course, that seemed to be the norm last season as they're trying to regain some of that swagger that they've had the last couple of years here in the Central Division. Last year's Central Division champions here in the RMLL Junior B Division. That goes back out to the middle of the floor. It skips back the other way, all the way back inside the zone. We're under 30 seconds to play. In fact, it's 27 seconds to play. Shots on goal now 22-9. It's picked up there by Jace Victoria. Victoria cradles the ball, looks back. High, a little flip there to Ryder Beaumont. Beaumont puts it to the outside over there to Hayden Sutherland. It's starting to feel more like the Mavericks again. I think that they can kind of feel that as a big piece in Hayden Sutherland being back, kind of calms the offense down a little bit, I believe. Goes back into the corner. It's picked up there by the Crude, who get ready to head off the floor here for the first intermission, trailing by 5. The Mavericks will take a 6-1 lead to the locker room. We'll take a break here on Mavs TV and be back with second period coverage. Coming up next. Welcome back inside the bullpen. Mark Payne and Noah Gooder-Zimmer. Zimmer, we are ready here for the second period. A great offensive attack in the first. A 6-1 lead for the Mavericks Elite Lacrosse Club here. Ryder Beaumont's got a hat trick. Hayden Sutherland's on the board. Jay Stalinsky has one. It feels like things are starting to roll.
Yeah, for sure, and I expect them to turn up even more in the second period and try and push transition even further.
Speaking of rolling, the Mavericks will roll right into Regina to play the Queen City Kings next weekend at 12 o'clock and 7 o'clock start on Saturday and Sunday, the 6th and 7th. There's my 6-7 for the day. Put it on. Picked up now by Brendan Harnack, back to the top of the floor, there to Bossenworth. Back inside, that one just goes to the bottom of the floor, and it's picked up now by the Crude. That was a terrible one, right? 6-7. Don't encourage me.
There just looks like Jay stepped in the crease and got the turnover.
Yeah, that was in the crease violation, and now it's let go here, and it's going to be Easton Ertmode with the ball. He comes in across the floor. Scooped off now in front of the Mavericks bench. Beaumont back onto the floor here for the Mavs. In his third season here with the Mavericks. Comes back to the top of the zone. The Mavs in their gray uniforms with black and yellow trim today. Here against the St. Albert Crude in their white and purple uniforms. Down the right-hand side with speed. Here come the Crude. Trying to get something going offensively. It's Micah Tellier. Back out there. They throw it back to the middle of the floor. It's coughed up there and picked up again by the Mavericks. Back up the middle of the floor. Here comes Andrew Murray. Murray spins off a man, comes in, the big body. Has the ball knocked loose, but it's picked up again by the Mavs as they work it back over to the top of the floor. And it's corralled now by the Mavericks. You were asking who number 91 is. Well, I saw him down there. It's Devin Gardner, one of the biggest characters on the Mavericks, no?
100%. Definitely a great locker room guy. Glad to see him back with the Mavericks today as an affiliate.
If I had to use one word to describe Guards, beauty. He's an absolute beauty. A lot of fun. He's always looking to get interviewed. In fact, some of the Mavericks came to an Olds Grizzlies game this year, and we had a PlayStation that was part of a raffle. Well, who won it but Blake Sutherland alongside 5 of the Mavericks, and one of those Mavs that was at that game was Devin Gardner. As it's picked up now. And Gardner out there right now. I saw 91, and of course I immediately thought of Grayson Admonson, who wore that number proudly the last few seasons. That one goes wide. Admonson now playing Junior A lacrosse here in Alberta. Now picked up there by Luke Cuttadall. Cuttadall will remember those Queen City Kings. They placed off against the Mavericks in 2024. They were also at the 2025 Founders Cup as well, so that's a exciting trip. The Mavericks will be up bright and early to get out to Regina for that one, overnight for one night out on the bus, and 17:39 remaining here in the second period. The Mavericks will get possession again here on the offensive end of the floor. Ryder Beaumont will get the ball from the official here at the middle of the floor, here at the bullpen. Back into the corner, picked up by Jace Victoria. Victoria over to Clayton, gets the return feed. Hacken Clayton throws it back out to the top there by Beaumont, who throws it behind the net. Out front to Sutherland. And that one just skips back into the stick of a Crude player. Picked up there by Memphis Durand. Durand will throw it all the way down the floor where it's picked up by the goaltender, Tapping, who just works it back up the floor to Beaumont. Right back to the attack. Fresh shot clock here for the Mavs, leading by 5. They work the ball around, comes back out to Beaumont. Shot goes wide there, and it's over onto the stick of Jace Victoria. Victoria's shot is stopped there, and they'll work it up the middle of the floor. Will the Crude. Picked up there now by number 3. That's Braden Grundwell. One of the young forwards here for this St. Albert squad. On the road here in Innisfail. Sunday afternoon action continues. Here comes Cuttadell back into the corner. He spins off it. And good patience there for a young player not to force the play, and sets it back up to Remy Panchode. Panchode gets the return feed. Playing catch there with Cuttadell. Over to Hayden Sutherland. That goes back to the corner.
and comes back out the other way. As that one just goes in the net, it's Hayden Sutherland again.
Yeah, good movement on the power play there. Ended up in Sutherland's stick, and he saw some room on the short side and fired it home.
That's one thing you could say about Sutherland. He can really pick his spots at times, and he saw that opportunity on the inside of the post, lower down there, and he beats the goaltender cleanly, and the Mavericks have a 6-goal lead. 7-1 the score. That's more like it here at home. Liam Steele now digs in for the draw. It's awarded there to the Crude off the draw. Do you see what happened there on the draw there?
No, didn't see exactly what happened. Seems like just a face-off violation going to the ball going to the Crude.
Trying to get the hand signals down here from the referees. Look like a charging call. As that one.
One thing to know, there is no charging in box lacrosse in Canada anymore. It is either illegal cross check or a illegal body check call.
And that's why I bring that up. Hickett now goes off. Picked up there by Steele. Works it over there to his longtime teammate, Brendan Harnick. Here's Lenny Estes. Here comes Brendan Harnick now, back down the floor. That one right off the chest of the goaltender. A good second save there by St. Albert. Easton Ertmode picks up the ball. I got to tell you, sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night and all I hear is, Hayden Sutherland!
100% that voice is
just haunts you.
Haunting, yeah.
Same thing when I'm getting my car washed in Penhold. Then it just turns out that Lenny's actually there. And so these are directional mics that we're on now, so you got to really hold it up to your mouth there, Noah, as we continue on here. And how about that? The goaltender runs right off the floor below us. You could hear him coming all the way up, kind of like a bull running through the pen there. He comes off, and it's going to be a penalty here against the Mavericks. So the CMB Electric power play will go to the St. Albert Crude here with 14:41 remaining in the second. Shots on goal now 30-9 in favor of the Mavs.
Yeah, I think the Crude are starting to get frustrated, a little bit chippy out there this last set, and looks like Devin Gardner is getting a roughing call.
So Gardner will head off for the penalty, playing in his first home game here today for the Mavericks. That one over top of the net. And Andrew Murray, the big body, uses that to his advantage. Another good hit there by the Mavs as we play on here at the bullpen. That one goes off the bar and wide as play continues on, and it's picked up there, and now a penalty the other way as Tapping makes his way off the floor as well. Noah, how hard is it to run in goalie gear?
It is very hard. I've played a few games as goalie and player this year, and I can say goalie is way more exhausting than player.
Well, they won't need that penalty as Chase Victoria has just made it a 7-goal lead here as he beats the goaltender cleanly there. And so that will negate that penalty, I believe, and that's another good play there. And it was Colin Farragon who came up the middle of the floor there and was the big body. A good hit there in the corner by Andrew Murray, separated the player from the ball. Farragon would pick it up, bring it up the right-hand side, and then an opportunity is created for Jace Victoria here. So a minute 18 remaining on the penalty to the Mavericks. And the goal awarded to the Mavs here. 8-1 the score now. Bit of a runaway now.
Yeah, it definitely looks like the Mavericks are capitalizing on their man up and their 6-on-5, 5-on-4 situations, and it's paying off.
And if you can hear the players banging their sticks on the bench, that is the Mavericks bench. And that's the kind of bench that they've had the last couple seasons. Real confident on the bench, trying to work things up, and you can hear them all yelling instructions and trying to help their players out defensively now. St. Albert back to the attack here. We'll flip it off there to Runco, who just jumps back up onto the floor and flips it back to Tellier. Tellier and Runco back out to the outside now. St. Albert trying to get back in this thing. This young squad is struggling right now here in the second frame. Here comes Easton Ertmode with speed up the left-hand side of the floor. He's got Panchoed out front. Ertmode elects to take the shot there, goes off the side of the post there, and here's the goal from Jace Victoria. So Hawken Clayton picks up the lone assist on the 8th marker of the day here for the Mavericks. That one goes across the center line, and it's blown down there and picked up by St. Albert. Crude back to the attack. It's the captain picking it up now, trying to get things set back up here as they try to get a more long-term offensive set. And that's Crunwell now. That one goes wide, and it's scooped up the day by the Mavs back inside the zone. As they come back up the floor, that's Jet Blumhagen, number 88. Comes back out front to Clayton. Clayton on net. That one stopped easily and picked up now by the Crude. Here comes St. Albert. Back out into the middle of the floor. Comes down the right-hand side, being watched there by Devin Gardner. Goes up to the top now as it's picked up there by McCormick. Ewan McCormick works it back to the other side. And spinning off a man down there inside with St. Albert as they try to get the offensive attack going. But it's going to be Liam Steele off to the races here along with Colin Farragon. Farragon's going to go off for the change. He's replaced there by Jace Victoria. Cuttadell and Steele. Steele still with the ball. Fake pass there. Now works it back to the right-hand side. There to Clayton. Clayton back to the far side as they try to set up the offensive attack here. Only 5 seconds remaining on the shot clock. Mavericks got to get the shot off here. They do so. That one goes off the bar, and it's retrieved by Hayden Sutherland. They'll get a fresh 30-second offensive clock here. Now shot on net. Scores! Hayden Sutherland has another. He's been red hot today at home.
Great move by Cuttadell on the shot before the goal there. Really good heads-up play, realizing he stepped through the crease, making sure he was not getting that pass, and that led to Sutherland's snipe from the outside.
And interesting enough there, Noah, that was something that he was struggling with a few games ago was Cuttadell. He had 3 goals in one of the game. All 3 were blown off for crease violations. I was talking to Joel Henry after that game, and I said, do you think those were the right calls? He goes, they all were the right call. An example of a young player trying to adjust to this league where they call things to the letter most of the time. Now a player knocked down there for the Crude, and it's picked up there by Liam Steele. But really going to school on that is Cuttadell, listening as a younger player, not only to his teammates, but some of the staff that have played high-level lacrosse as well, able to work that one up. And, of course, Sutherland, the king of loose balls here at the bullpen, picks it up and makes no mistake. So there's a really good example of a younger player starting to find his way here with the Mavericks. Knocked to the floor there is Liam Steele. No call there on the play. And now St. Albert continuing to be frustrated. Work it back to Mitchell. Mitchell back to the corner. Good scoop move there as it's picked up now here by the captain. They kick it away, though, as they not only drop the ball, but then kick it down the floor. And with speed, the Mavericks will chase down after that one. Running the length of the floor there is Gage Miros. Haven't said number 23's name here today. As the Mavericks will continue on here, 9-1 the score as we approach the midway point of this lacrosse game. Back the other way, that one picked up there by Willis, and he'll long ball it up the middle of the floor, trying to find a man chasing it down there, as that's Memphis Durand. He can't get control of it, and it's picked up again by the Mavs. Mavericks back down, get the change in. Victoria and Beaumont jump back up onto the floor. Out to the top of the zone there, and spinning off there is Gilbertson. Picked up now, thrown back to the other side there to Ryder Beaumont. Beaumont's got 4 on the afternoon. That one goes off the side of the net there. I think it's 3, sorry. I gave him an extra one there. And now another penalty coming up here to the Mavericks. So I think as it's gotten a little bit chippy out there, the Mavericks are getting caught up in some stuff as well. That's an interference call. So
that was a little unfortunate call. from up in the booth, looked like the player was outside the crease, but obviously the ref saw something else, and it's another goal interference call going against the Mavericks.
I was going to bait you into that today. I was wanting to get you to be a little bit critical of the officials, as I know that can be tough to do sometimes. We'll take a timeout here on Mavs TV and be back with more lacrosse coming up next. Back to the action here at the bullpen. Back up here in the booth. 9-1 is the score with 9:45 remaining here in the second period. We're going to talk a little bit about the standings here, and Noah's going to take us through kind of what's been going on in the Central Division here at the Junior B Tier 1 division level at the Rocky Mountain Lacrosse League. Is another power play brought to you by CMB Electric is underway. It's Tellier. Tellier back to the outside. Shot on net. Good shot there. Tracking the ball there nicely. Is tapping, but it's picked up again there by St. Albert. St. Albert gets a fresh 30-second clock. And it's picked up to the top of the zone. Crude work it back the other way. Goes back to the top to Mitchell. Mitchell to Tellier. Looking for a clean look here, and now it's knocked down for a moment, but picked back up by Tellier. Here comes Easton Ertmode. One of the good penalty killers here for the Mavs. He'll work it up the left-hand side of the floor. Cradles the ball, finds Jace Victoria coming off the bench. Victoria and Harnick will switch. Harnick will head off for a change, and here's Hayden Sutherland back out onto the floor along with Blair Bossenworth. Sutherland with possession. Being watched there. Moves down the side of the wall, tries to find the man Bossenworth back door there. As the shot clock expires, 8:30 remain here in this second frame. 37-13, the shots on goal for the Mavericks with another 42 seconds to go on the penalty here to the Mavs. Power play continues. Here comes St. Albert. Hackett with the ball. Throws it back to the Tellier. Goes off the tip of the stick. Good spin move there, and a shot on net. Scores! That was a nice move, and then laying on the floor and then just kind of rolling the ball along the floor there, Noah.
Yeah, 100%. It was a nice feed and great spin move led to the diving goal. And
it's a family show, so we want to apologize for some of the language down there.
Crude are 2 for 3 on the power play now. Probably something the Mavericks want to touch on after the period.
Crude language is what they refer to that one as.
Exactly.
As now it's picked up at the mid part of the floor, and now tempers flare. Liam Steele getting in the face of the player here. And he's immediately instructed for the face mask there to head off. So the Mavs take another penalty here. It's a 2-minute face mask penalty. 8:05 remaining here in the second period. We were kind of talking off air there as things are right on the precipice of boiling over here. So good job by the officials here. How important is it to control the game in these situations, Noah?
Yeah, it's very important. You don't want player safety is the highest priority for referees, and you don't want anyone hurting themselves or affecting their personal lives. Most of these players are in high school or have jobs that they have to go to tomorrow, so always important to make sure nobody's getting hurt.
No, that's very true. Player safety at a premium here, especially when emotions can get the best of these young players. Back into the corner. It's picked up there by Hack and Clayton. He's watched closely there. Trying to cross-check him off the ball there is a Crude defender. That is Quentin Palmer. Possession now here for the Crude, who've just scored their second marker of the afternoon. Mitchell goes cross-floor here for the Crude. St. Albert inside. And how could we do a St. Albert Crude game without mentioning Jordan Peck? Of course, the goaltender the Mavericks picked up a couple seasons ago and a St. Albert native.
Of course, another St. Albert goalie, start of the year, Will Horn. Looks like he's not on the roster anymore, might be getting moved. I know it was talked about on the podcast this week, but interesting to see what happens there.
Hayden Sutherland now with possession as they've switched goaltenders mid-play there. So the other goaltender in net, we'll tell you about him here in a moment here for the Mavericks. That one goes off the bar. Good quick shot there by the Mavs. That was Clayton ringing it off the bar. He does some ironing as now it comes back down the middle of the floor. I'll tell you what's getting a workout in the Mavericks dressing room. That's the dryer. I saw the coaches were all drying their jackets off. It is pouring outside right now. Of course, everybody worried about the rising rivers here as the runoff in the Rocky Mountains is quite significant. And it's supposed to rain all week long. Shot on net. That one just goes back up off the shoulder. I'll throw it back to Noah here, and we'll talk a little bit about the other goaltender who has had a start here so far here for the Mavs, and he's coming right off the floor right now.
Yeah, looks like Cam Greenlee was only in net for a few minutes there while they were figuring stuff out, and tapping's back. Greenlee coming to the Mavs this season, great addition for them with for goaltending coming from the Chaos Lacrosse Club.
So do you think that Trey Christensen's doing that as kind of a bit of a practice set for maybe later in the season there? Or was there some strategy involved there as that one just goes off the goaltender Willis?
Yeah, it could be a set thing they're trying to practice, or it could have been something could be needed to be said to tapping about something they seen. Not 100% sure what was the player.
Just interesting they would do it during play there. So it's picked up now here by the Mavericks. Scooping it up right below our broadcast location. The Mavs now get back to the offensive attack. And that's Blaze Grodecki, and we haven't said his name yet today, wearing the number 64. So perhaps some of the other players getting different playing times in different situations here right now as well by the Mavericks coaching staff. Picked up by Willis up the middle of the floor, and he throws it right away to Hayden Sutherland. Not the player you want to give the ball to as it goes back to her up the top of the frame there, and picked up there by Blair Bossenworth with 4:43 remaining here in the second. You're watching Mavericks Lacrosse here on Mavs TV. Thanks for joining us. Back on that shoot, scores! Luke Cuttadell has another. That's the 10th of the day.
Yeah, great transition for the Mavericks there, picking off the ball, and then just a good solid off ball cut by Luke Cuttadell to find himself wide open on the crease for the easy goal.
Scramble draw there, picked up by St. Albert. Now a 8-goal lead again here for the Mavs here in the second period. Tapping tries to come out to play that. He just scoops it off. It's picked up there by Liam Steele. Steele spins off his man, comes up the middle of the floor, and then it's knocked out of his stick there for a moment. He retrieves it, but it's blown down. No lack of enthusiasm from Lenny down there as we continue on here on Mavs TV. Back out front. That one knocked down there. The Mavericks now retrieve the ball. That goes up over the head of Devin Gardner, who's trying to chase it down, and then the goaltender, Willis, comes out to play that, and that's actually another new goaltender in that now. That is Willis still between the pipes here. Wow. Action at both ends of the floor here. Play continuing on here for the Mavs. They work it outside. Cuttadell again. Shoots and scores. He's red hot here in the second. Luke Cuttadell with another.
Wow, great dump dunk and dip by Luke Catadell over the top of the very tall Crude goaltender. Very impressive.
That's something we saw Grayson Adamson do a few times last year, is kind of get to the top of the crease, go up high, and throw it straight down there. Not as exaggerated there, but Luke Catadell showing some of his offensive foray here for the Mavericks. And wow, what a score we've got here in the second period. Still a full period of lacrosse to go, and it's 11-2 for the Elite Mavericks Lacrosse Club. 43-15 on the shot clock here. So things well in hand here right now for the Mavs. Bostonworth chases it down there to Morgan. Morgan out there. Where's the number 44 as it's picked up here by the other number 44, Blair Bostonworth. Another chance here for Bostonworth. That one goes off the frame. I don't know if we're going to have to get Lenny a Red Bull or a Lozenger. We're going to have to get a couple new sponsors here, Halls and Red Bull, to haul our PA man through another third period here at the bullpen. Mavericks with control on net. That one just goes underneath, and it's scooped up there. Harnick watching it there, and Willis is going to pick it up. He throws it too high. That one goes off the stanchion back inside St. Albert territory. 2:22 remaining here in the second period. Picked up now by the Mavs. They'll work it around there. Catadell back out there again. Shot on net. That one goes off the bar there as Ryder Bomong has another one go up over top of the cage. It's still going to be a Mavericks possession in a 30-second clock here as Hayden Sutherland has it now. He works it inside there to Bomong. You're starting to see the chemistry offensively here for the Mavericks. This is what we expected early on in the season. We're going to start the third period of this game, Noah, talking about the standings here in the Central Division. So tease you on that one as we get ready for the second intermission here. Sutherland throws that up over top of the cage as it's picked up now here by the Mavs. They haven't stopped coaching down there on the Mavericks bench, I'll tell you that. A lot going on down there below us. That one goes inside on net and scores! I don't know if they'll call that lucky. They'll take it. There's the 12th of the afternoon here to match Hayden Sutherland's jersey. I think it's Jace Victoria with another goal.
Yeah, looks like Jace Victoria was gifted a juicy rebound right in front and was able to put it home there.
He kind of shook his head there, kind of like that was easy. I think they've broken the spirit a little bit here of the St. Albert Crude, as now it's picked up by the Mavericks. Sprawling there, looking for it again, is Colin Farragon. Get used to hearing his name on these broadcasts. The Ohio native. Now to the back of the outside. Picked up there by Kuhn on the near side here as St. Albert work it back in. 1:11 remaining here in the second period. Mavericks with 50 shots on the board here in two frames. Shot on net there by the captain, controlled there by Tapping. Tapping throws it up the floor, and he's got a man there. It's Catadell, who's going to chase it down into the corner. Retrieves it nicely off the wall there. Good quick hands there by the rookie. Here's Luke Catadell. Back to the top of the zone. He elects to just kind of throw it down in front of the bench there, and coming back on is Ryder Bomong. Bomong. Shot on net. That one goes off the shoulder there of the goaltender, and then knocked away defensively there almost by Bomong. Regained control here by one of the affiliate players. That's Kale Teskey. Teskey back over to Mitchell. Mitchell being watched there by Bloomhagen. Now pushed back down the right-hand side of the floor with 15 seconds to go here in the second. Time ticking down. That goes off the right glove there of Tapping. Back out to the top there to Tessier. Now goes back outside. Here comes St. Albert Crude. The well has certainly dried up here a bit in the second as we'll take a break here on Mavs TV and be back with third period coverage coming up next. And welcome back. Third period about to get underway here on Mavs TV. Mark Payne back up in the booth here, joined alongside by Noah Gooder-Zimmer here for third period action. A 12-2 score. The Elite Mavericks Lacrosse Club certainly looking elite this afternoon on a rainy Sunday afternoon against the St. Albert Crude, who are in town here this afternoon. Of course, again, Mavericks getting ready to head out to Regina to face off against the Queen City Kings next weekend on June 6th and 7th. A noon start on the Sunday, 7 o'clock start on the Saturday night. So that's going to be an exciting road trip here for the Mavericks. Helps them develop chemistry on the road, does it not?
Oh, 100%. Being in those close quarters definitely helps with team bonding.
That bus ride will be an early one for the Mavericks on Saturday morning. Comes back up off the side of the net there and picked up now by the Crude. Again in their white uniforms today with the purple trim. Back outside as they try to strike again here. Picked up there by St. Albert. Back onto the middle of the floor. Noah, we said we'd lead off the third period here with some of the standings here. So on our next break here, you're going to take us through where things are at here in the Central Division. On net there, picked up there, and gives us a chance to go through the standings, Noah.
Okay, yeah, interesting. Because the Southern Alberta Rockies folded, there is no more Central Division, so Mavericks are playing out of the South Division for the first time this in their history.
Yep. And Ryder Beaumont now with possession, and that's my fault because I'm so used to calling them the Central Division champions, so they'll not have really an opportunity to defend that Central Division as now part of the South Division.
Yeah, no worries, Mark. And right now the Mavericks sitting 3-3-1, 6th place in the South, but they're looking to improve today and continue building on their record, getting above 500 hopefully after today.
As they try to move above 500 here and slowly getting some of the pieces back from the last two seasons, now picked up here by the Mavs. It's Hayden Sutherland working to the outside. Picked up on net. That one goes off the bar. You could hear the clang all the way up here in the booth as play continues on here up the left-hand side of the floor. That's Caleb Amiot, number 88. Works it back to the top of the floor there to Runco. Shot on net as the Mavericks pick it up back inside their own zone here. 54 shots this afternoon so far for the Mavs. Only 20 for the St. Albert Crude as now Cuttadell will set things up here into the far corner. Comes back out the other way, top of the floor, picked up there by Jace Victoria. Working it around now, the Mavericks continue on here at their home floor here in Innisfil. We call it the bullpen. All the way back to the top of the floor there was Bossenworth. Full 30, you hear them yelling from the bench there. That means a fresh 30-second clock here for the Mavs. Plenty of time to set up offensively. Back inside the zone, in the middle of the floor, and scores! Lucky number 13 for the Mavericks.
Little bit of a broken play there, but looks like Luke Cadidel picked up the ball and kind of fooled the goalie with a off-speed shot there, going far side this time.
Cuttadell's dad up here in the booth taking us through where you can find the best pizza in Canada here in the second intermission. Back inside the zone, picked up there by the Mavs, and then scooped up by the Crude. Pinned up against the wall there is McCormick, being manhandled there by three Mavericks. Colin Farragon in there, and then kicked away by Easton Ertmode. That one blown down. I'm telling you, you're going to wake up in the middle of the night and just hear, Lou, cut it out! In a cold sweat. As it's picked up again by the rookie. Starting to feel a lot more confident on the floor is number 14. And back to the top of the floor again. Back inside. That one goes just wide. Scooped up now as we'll continue on here. Junior B Tier 1 action continuing here in Innisfail. Return feed back outside, back to the other side as they get it back on net, and scoring again is Jace Victoria. So to kind of summarize everything that is going on throughout the division, last year's bronze medalist at the Founders Cup, the Calgary Shamrocks with a 6-1-1 record, 13 points. The Rocky View Silver Tips, 5-2-1 in second. The Mounties, 5-2-1, tied for that second place. The Calgary Chill, 5-3. The Marauders, 5-3, and the Mavericks rounding out that South Division right now as they try to move above 500. I think that's going to be in the cards for sure today, now with a 14-2 lead. Even Brendan Harnick on the second assist getting the love on the PA announcing. Coming back out now, St. Albert's going to get possession here as they'll get ready to announce the 50-50 winner here at the bullpen. Scoop back in front of the net, now picked up there by the Mavericks in front of the net. And coming down the right-hand side is Devin Gardner. We call him the glue. Comes back over the shoulder now, and now it's picked up there by St. Albert in the corner. And they'll elect to run it up the left-hand side of the floor. This young St. Albert team being led now by Mark Morgan. Number 44 works it down into Runco. Runco now will scoop it back as they look for Morgan back at the top of the zone, but it's picked up by his defending partner there. Over to Runco, and now chased down here by the assistant captain. Back inside the zone. Shot clock expires. Shot on net quickly there for the Mavs. And picked up by the goaltender, Willis. Daniel Willis still in net here for the St. Albert Crude. Goes back up the middle of the floor. Back into the corner. You see the healthy scratches down there in the far corner. Hard to miss Alex Swan through the glass. He'll be back for next weekend's games against the Queen City Kings. Well, number 37 between the pipes. Now back out the other way. That one on net goes well wide, and after the buzzer had sounded, now coming up the middle of the floor are the St. Albert Crude. It's Ewan McCormick. McCormick chasing after it now behind the net. It's picked up there by the goaltender tapping. And I think we haven't really talked a whole lot about Grayson today, but he has played very well between the pipes today for the Mavericks, has he not?
Yeah, 100%. Tracking the ball, seeing it nicely, and just being a solid rock back there for the defense.
Play continuing. Of course, those Regina Kings, they're 1-4-0 this season in their East Division. As we try to bring you up to date, everything, you can find this online on the Rocky Mountain Lacrosse League website. For all the lax coverage here in Alberta and Saskatchewan. Scooped up now, and it's chipped away there by Brendan Harnick. Back down the middle of the floor. Harnick comes up the middle, looking to match his jersey number. They're looking for their 15th goal of the day, are the Mavericks. Harnick stays out there. Back defensively now. Scoops it back into the right corner. Mavs continuing on here. They'll come out to the top of the floor. Easton Ertmode flips it back there to his teammate. Shot on net there. That goes wide off the stick of Devin Gardner. Back into the corner. Retrieved again by the Mavericks. 12:54 remaining here in the third. And that one blown down. So a long bus ride next weekend for the Mavericks. What do you expect to see out of them next weekend, Noah?
Hopefully they come in to Regina rested, ready to play, and hopefully they can take 2 of 2 from Regina and just build upon the last 2 wins here.
Come in hungry as they try to get things on the right track. They've certainly done so here today. Here comes Hayden Sutherland, scores! That's waved off immediately on the crease violation, however. And then they haven't learned much about the ceiling here at the bullpen as the goaltender Willis hits it again, and it's going to be another possession here for the Mavericks. So a bit of a mental mistake there for the St. Albert Crude. Back to the left-hand side. That one goes back into the corner. Mavericks will work it back to the top of the zone, trying to set up the offense here, and it's picked up there by Willis, who throws it up the middle of the floor, but it's picked up again by the Mavs. Just keeping the pressure on here. Goes back off the boards in front of the Crude bench here and blown down. How hard is it to travel and play in the same day, Noah?
It definitely can be hard. Bus legs are definitely a real thing, especially on that long of drive. It's important to get there early, stretch, have a very solid warm-up, and get into the game early on and be physical.
I know that was something that was mentioned in the Memorial Cup, the Kitchener Rangers saying that they came in a couple days early. Of course, they'll be in the final starting in a few moments out there in Kelowna against the Everett Silvertips today, as now a bit of a melee on the floor here and an injury to one of the St. Albert players as the tempers have finally boiled over here. So that's one of the things when you come off the road trip, having some bus legs, when you come right off the bus into a game action and the trainer is out onto the floor to work on the left knee of one of the St. Albert players. We'll take a break here on Mavs T and be back with the conclusion of this third period coming up next. Back to the action here at the bullpen, picked up there by the St. Albert Crude. Good hit into the corner there as that one's pushed off the wall there. That was Ethan Mitchell. Now it's a battle in front of the Mavericks bench. We'll listen to the penalties here. So it's coincidental penalties here. And so we'll just continue on here with 11 minutes exactly remaining here, as several penalties are handed out here. Comes back out to the top of the crease there for a moment, goes back into the corner, picked up there by the Mavs. They've certainly had control here in the latter stages. Ever since about 5 minutes into the second period, they've really taken it to the St. Albert Crude here this afternoon. Picked up now, Mavericks will just maintain control here. Cradling the ball at the top of the zone is Ryder Beaumont. Back to the right-hand side. As you can hear the bench yelling smart play. And that one over top, almost like a Michigan. That one came over top of the cage and goes in. What a goal!
Yeah, impressive goal by Clayton right there, going up and over the goaltender to scoop it in from behind.
What do we even call that?
They call it...
I know in hockey they call it the Michigan, but that was actually over top of the bar. He was right behind the net.
I know, we could call it hang time. The dunk goal from behind.
We're gonna put that one on the board in the room. We got to come up with a name for that play. I have never seen that before. Hack and Clayton with the most impressive goal of the day. Here's the call. Wow, we have really seen it all here this afternoon here on Mavs TV. Take another time out here and be back with the remainder of the third here in a moment. Back to the action here at the bullpen. We're kind of chatting here. How come players don't try that more often? The way the crease is set up, you can get right behind the net like that, but I guess you kind of be looking for it if you were a goalie as play continues on.
Yeah, it can be challenging. You got to make sure that you don't contact the crossbar or post or goalie before the ball crosses. And you also have to make sure the head of your stick is in front of the goal line for it to count.
So 2 or 3 little variables play into that play. 62 to 620 now are the shots on goal. So the Mavericks now with over 60 shots in the game. 9:18 remaining here in the third. As play continues on, cut it all. We'll dish it off there. Back into the top of the zone there. It's picked up now by the Mavs. There's Clayton who had that great goal. He's got another back-to-back for 94. I was talking to Trey Christensen before the game, and he said that when the Mavericks can get 12 or 13 goals on the board, he's fairly confident in them defensively. Well, today they've got 16. Sweet 16 here on the last day of May for the Mavericks. Picked up now, and they'll just continue on here. The Mavs continuing to pour it on. Liam Steele throws it into the far corner. Comes back out to the top of the zone. Mavericks continuing on here. Pouring on the offense. That one goes just wide. Back into the corner. Corralled there. It seems like a long time ago that Ryder Beaumont got his third of the day. Now here comes Brendan Harnack up the middle of the floor. St. Albert on their heels here with 8:33 to play in the third period. I can't get enough of it. I'm going to go get him an herbal tea after. Maybe a chamomile. See if you can loosen up the larynx of his down there. Lenny Istis doing a great job on the public address here at the bullpen. Enjoying every minute of it. The voice of Mavericks Lacrosse. Shoveled back the other way. Picked up there by Hayden Sutherland. Sutherland will just slow things down here. 7:35. Hard to believe there's still 7.5 minutes left. Play continuing on here on the offensive zone. 14 on the shot clock. 15 gets the shot off. That's Harnack. Goes off the shoulder there, and then it's retrieved again by the Mavericks. Devin Gardner with the Lucy. Gardner finds a man, a back out the other way. Harnick trying to create some space in the middle of the floor. Mavericks continuing on here, picked up now by Gardner. Devin Gardner works it back to Sutherland, scores! He's got another. Wow. Mercy.
Yeah, I think the Mavericks are trying to switch it up here, trying to get some D guys on the O and O guys on D, trying to see different line and combinations for their offense and defense.
Yeah, they're not really trying to really run up the score at all. They're just trying different offensive sets and everything. The coaching has not stopped, and now a very obvious call coming up here as Andrew Murray cross-checked the man right in the head there. So it will be a penalty to the Mavericks. I've got to find someone to be my post-game interview, but I kind of feel like picking Lenny, seeing what he's got left in the tank for one final call. Back outside now to Harnick. Here comes Brennick Harnick up to speed. Ball knocked away from him, however. Now he corrals it. Then a good move there. Back to Cuttadell. Cuttadell back flip to Beaumont. Wow.
Looked like Beaumont hesitated there. He might be feeling bad scoring 4 goals today.
Chase Victoria now back on the floor, number 84. Victoria back to 14, Cuttadell. Back to the corner. 6 minutes remain. 17-2 the score. The Mavericks now with 67 shots. Picked up now at the top of the zone there by Beaumont. It's a good hard shot. That's controlled by Willis. Now the Crude will pick it up. You'd hear their coaching saying, let's play the last 5 minutes here, boys. So trying to reset the mentality there on the Crude bench as well. Comes back out to the top of the zone. That one off the bar. Play continuing on here as the St. Albert Crude will continue the attack. On net, that one goes off the wall there, back up into the netting, up and out of play. And it will be Mavs possession. Remy Panchode will find a man up the middle of the floor. Just misses Hacken Clayton there, who comes back into the corner now, controlling it down inside the zone. 94 has been spectacular here in the third. Comes back out to Jace Victoria, who works it back to Clayton. Clayton again shovels that one just wide. That one's deflected up and out of play, so it will remain Mavericks ball. Reset back out to Jace Victoria. Under 5 to play. Bossenworth works it back over. The Mavericks continue on. Picked up there by the Crude as they work it back up the middle of the floor. Runco now with possession. He's got a man streaking down the right-hand side. Runco can't find him. Good little stutter step move there to slam on the brakes and set things up offensively here for St. Albert.
Back to 5-on-5 now. I think the Mavericks have improved to 50% on the PK.
And how about that? As Mike Atelier tried to return the favor and tried that same play from over top of the net. That hits the bar, however, and it's picked up here. Good back pass there for the Mavericks as they try to get a quick set going. Over to Bryn Bossenworth, the other Bossenworth out there now, number 79. Backdoor play, can't find Bossenworth there, and that one goes out of play. 69 shots now here for the Mavericks. They can't get back up to the middle of the floor there to cut it off. And now coming up the middle of the floor and getting his hands a little bit high, and here's a scrap. It's Liam Steele. Can't get the player's helmet off, however. So how's that for an exclamation point?
Impressive by Steele having his helmet ripped off, and the other Crude player having a helmet on is still giving it bare knuckles.
Speaking of a player that has to work tomorrow, Liam Steele is going to head right to the dressing room there. And the officials will come together. We'll take a quick break here with 3:54 remaining. We'll be back with the conclusion here in a moment.
Not sure what happened there. It seemed like Crude were taking a penalty before that scrum, and I don't blame Liam Steele there for. There's only a certain amount of headshots you can take before you finally have enough.
And I have a name for that goal that we saw there from Hack and Clayton, and I'd like to thank Colin Farragut's parents who are watching back in Ohio this afternoon. How about Gary Gate? So they call that one the Gary Gate jumping over the goal. Changed lacrosse forever, and of course the Gate brothers, even me being the hockey purist, knows who they are. So Gary Gate, one of the legends of the game, used to use that one in field lacrosse quite a bit, and so both teams trying it. The Mavericks, the only team having some success with it, as it's going to be a 2-minute penalty up on the board here. We'll head back to another CNB electric power play. So good fan engagement there for us as well here on the broadcast here on Mavs TV. We'll get right back to it. It's number 22, Tellier, brings it inside the zone. Back out the other way to the far corner there. The trainer back to work there. Back out of the dressing room as they'll continue on here. Back to the top of the zone here. St. Albert, after that scrap, have the power play. Liam Steele back in the room now for the Mavs. Of course, the Mavericks share the dressing room with the Innisfil Eagles. We'd like to thank the Innisfil Eagles for their continued support of Mavericks lacrosse here at the bullpen. Scoop back the other way and getting hammered not once but twice there is Brennan Harnick. Things getting extremely chippy out there now, Noah.
Yeah, for sure.
3 minutes exactly remaining here at the bullpen. As coming up the floor and being tackled down there as Clayton has a man. That's going to be another easy call here for the official. Hare back out there. Tellier now with possession. 13 on the shot clock. Swatting at it there, and that one's going to be whistled down. I think we're going to have 2 penalties called here, 1 on each side here. Not much to be decided here. It's almost one of those moments where you kind of feel like they could just run the clock.
Yeah, that's true. It'd be nice for both teams just to get out of this game with even heads and no more rough stuff in between.
It's actually toughest on the officials here, and I think you probably could agree as a ref here right now, as you want to try to keep things under control. Only 3 Mavericks on the floor now. I was excited to see them get their 70th shot.
That's true. That's probably a milestone they wanted to achieve today. 70 shots. A few weeks ago, I was in Codale, and I had 98 shots on me. So
come on.
Yeah.
I'm complaining I got hit once with the ball today. As St. Albert will work it around here on the CMB electric power play. Comes back out to the top of the zone. Shoots, scores! The captains got them on the board, their 3rd of the day. And that's good coaching down there. They're saying, let's play these last 5 minutes, and they intend to here for St. Albert with 2:25 remaining. It's now a 17-3 game.
Yeah. There's a lot for the Crude organization to play for here. They're playing for pride, and I know there's a lot of young guys on this roster trying to get the experience for this season and next season.
So where Steele would usually be taking this face-off right now, Bossenworth, another Olds native, will step in for the draw. There's Colin Farragon. Thanks to his dad for texting us that insight there. And great name in the game of lacrosse, Gary Gate. Now picked up here on the outside. Here's the Mavericks. They'll work it up the right-hand side. Coming down the right-hand side of the floor, Luke Cuttadell's had a great game today. You can hear Hayden Sutherland saying, Luke, Luke. And he's got the ball now, and Luke will head off the floor. Sutherland, the veteran, will take over. Back out front, and there's another goal for the Mavericks. Their 70th shot of the game results in their 18th goal. It's Gilbertson.
Great job by the offense there. It's important for the Mavericks not to give up and keep playing, even though the game seems to be out of hand at this point.
And I thought it was a good play there by veteran player Hayden Sutherland coming off and saying, Luke, get the ball from him. And then Cuttadell doing the right thing to get off for the change there before that goal was scored. As now here comes Easton Ertmode. Stick knocked right out of his hand. And he gets back up, gets the stick back, and now he's battling for the ball. It's still loose there. And battling it for it now is Gilbertson back on the sidewall over to the Jace Victoria.
That's impressive by Easton to have that yard sale and then get the stick back and get that ball back for his offense was very impressive there.
Gets the ball back. Victoria had it for a moment, but the shot clock will expire. And we're down to a minute 11. 70 seconds remaining in a 70-shot day for the Mavericks Elite Lacrosse Club. Back into the corner, picked up there by the Crude. St. Albert loop it back out to the top of the zone there. Just whiffed on for a moment, but it is retrieved again by the Crude. Going to slash away at it there. Now it's back on net there. Good job there to tapping. He has some great lateral movement inside the net here for the Mavericks. A lot of a different style of a goaltender than we're used to with Alex Swan. Comes back behind the net now, picked up by the Mavericks, goes back to the top of the zone. Working around one last time. Good hard shot down there. And down to the final 30 here. Crude will get back up the middle of the floor. It skips away all the way onto the goaltender, tapping. And it looks like the Mavericks may have the last possession of this lacrosse game. Leading here 18-3. Goes over to number 19. Gilbertson picks it up now. Justin will throw it back up to the top of the zone there to Luke Cuttadell, who will flip it off to the officials to put the finishing touches on the biggest win of the season so far for the Mavericks. Noah, an absolute pleasure. You're a beauty. I appreciate it. I'm going to take you on again on the PlayStation, though. I did buy one last year. I've gotten no better.
Oh, I'll definitely take that, Mark. It was a great experience being on the broadcast today, and it was a pleasure to be working with you.
Appreciate that. Appreciate everybody at home. There we are on camera. We'll wave to everybody at home here. 18-3 the final. The final shots on goal, 71-25 in favor of the Mavs. The Mavs roll. We'll have more next weekend from Regina.